The Krelvaxian ambassador's throaty laughter echoed through the hangar bay of the Galactic Confederation's flagship. Commander Ilara Vosk stood rigid, knuckles white as she gripped the ceremonial sword at her side, Earth's last representative, at this critical diplomatic summit. This is humanity's contribution to the unified defense fleet. Ambassador Ulthax gestured at the battered vessel behind Ilara. We expected something functional at least. The USS Tenacity had seen better. Days, scorch marks marred its hull. Mismatched panels of various alloys patched together where original plating had been destroyed in past conflicts. Compared to the gleaming ships of the other Confederation members, it looked like precisely what it was, a desperate contribution from a species stretching its last resources to join the galactic community. The Tenacity has survived 4 major conflicts, Ilara replied evenly. Its systems are fully operational. Operational by human standards, snorted General Draz of the Pelleran Guard. My personal shuttle has more firepower than this. What did you call it? A destroyer. The delegation moved on, leaving Ilara alone with her ship and her fury. Inside the Tenacity's command deck, she found Chief Engineer Riven Korax running diagnostics, his weathered face illuminated by scrolling data. How'd the inspection go? He asked without looking up. About as well as expected. The Krelvaxians think we're a joke. The Pellerans suggested we'd serve better as a waste disposal vessel. Riven finally looked up, a glint in his mismatched eyes. 1 natural brown, 1 cybernetic blue, a remnant from the Battle of Titan. Did they now? He said softly. I suppose they wouldn't be interested in our recent upgrades then. What upgrades? Ilara frowned. Alliance command strictly prohibited. Any modifications to our ship before the integration ceremony? Riven grinned and tapped a sequence into his console. A holographic display materialized, showing schematics unlike anything Ilara had seen before. The F-50 protocol, he said. Been developing it in my spare time. Quantum entanglement propulsion, adaptive shield harmonics, nanite-based self-repair systems. Stuff that would make those Krelvaxian superior vessels look like child's toys. That's theoretical tech, Ilara whispered. The science division said we were decades away from practical applications. Theory, schmory, Riven waved dismissively. I got it working last month. Just needed the right motivation. Before Ilara could respond, the ship's AI, Area, interrupted. Commander, emergency transmission from Alliance headquarters. Perimeter defense satellites have detected an unidentified fleet at the edge of the system. Confederation command is ordering all ships to defensive positions. The hangar erupted into activity as alien crew members rushed to their vessels. Ilara watched as the sleek ships of their supposed allies powered up, their designs all variations on the same outdated principles. They won't stand a chance if it's who I think it is, Riven muttered. The Void Collective doesn't play nice. How quickly can you implement your upgrades? Ilara asked, a plan forming. Shipwide? 3 hours minimum. The commander's communications device buzzed. Vosk, get your museum piece clear of the battle zone, came the dismissive order from Fleet Admiral Zixmore. We can't have you getting in the way of real warships. Ilara switched off the communication and locked eyes with Riven. You have 2 hours, she said, and then we're going to show the Confederation what humanity's scrap heap can really do. The engineering team scrambled into action. Ilara stood at the viewport, watching the Confederation's prized fleet depart, their gleaming hulls reflecting the distant starlight. Area, initiate F-50 protocol, she commanded, and plot an intercept. Course to the front line. Deep within the ship's core, dormant systems awakened, pulsing with energy that no other species had yet mastered. The mockery was about to end. 2 hours later, the Tenacity hummed with power. Riven's modifications had transformed the vessel, from within, though its exterior remained deliberately unchanged. Through the viewport, The distant flashes of weapons fire illuminated the void. The Confederation fleet was already engaged with the Void Collective's advance force. Status report. Ilara commanded, striding onto the bridge in full combat gear. F-50 systems operating at 94% efficiency, Riven reported from the engineering console, still fine-tuning the quantum harmonizers, but everything else is green. Lieutenant Mira Lazuli, the ship's tactical officer, looked up from her station. Confederation communications are chaotic. The Void Collective brought phase-shift destroyers. The fleet's conventional weapons are passing right through their hulls. Casualties? 3 Pelleran cruisers destroyed, 1 Krelvaxian flagship critically damaged. They're being overwhelmed. Ilara settled into the command chair. Arya, give me fleet-wide communication. Channel open, Commander, the AI responded. This is Commander Vosk of the USS Tenacity. We are moving to support defensive operations. Admiral Zixmore's face appeared on screen, his features distorted with strain and arrogance. Negative, Tenacity. You are ordered to maintain your position. Your obsolete vessel will be destroyed in seconds. With respect, Admiral, we're already en route. Ilara terminated the connection before he could protest further. Mira, battle stations. Riven, bring the F-50 systems to full power. Let's show them what obsolete looks like. The Tenacity accelerated, its conventional thrusters giving way to the quantum propulsion system as they cleared the space dock. The ship lurched, then smoothed into motion so fluid it felt like sliding through dimensions rather than space. By the stars, Mira whispered as her console lit up with new tactical options. These weapon systems, they're unlike anything I've seen. Approaching the engagement zone, reported Navigator Elias Tavor. Void Collective vessels at 27 Mark III. The view screen revealed the chaos of battle. The Confederation's finest ships were scattered, some drifting powerless, others frantically evading the Collective's phase-shifted weapons. Target the lead destroyer, Ilara ordered. Adaptive phase harmonics active. Fire when ready. Mira's fingers danced across the tactical console. Target locked. Firing! From the Tenacity's seemingly conventional weapons array, pulses of energy emerged. But unlike standard plasma weapons, these shifted and twisted in flight, their quantum signature adjusting to match the phase state of the enemy vessel. The shots connected, tearing through the supposedly impenetrable phase shield of the Void Collective ship. The enemy vessel shuddered, its sleek black hull rupturing in a cascade of explosions. Silence fell across the Tenacity's bridge. Did that work? Elias asked. Before anyone could answer, the communication system exploded with chatter. How did they? The human ship impossible! The Void Collective's response was immediate. 3 destroyers broke formation, converging on the Tenacity with predatory precision. They've made us primary target, Mira reported. Incoming weapons lock from multiple vectors. Evasive pattern Delta, Ilara commanded. Riven, how are the shields holding? Adaptive harmonics are compensating, but they're learning our frequency shifts. We can't take sustained fire from all 3. As if to punctuate his warning, the ship rocked violently as the first volley found its mark. Hull breach on Deck C, Arya announced. Nanite repair systems deploying. Ilara gripped her armrests. We need support. Hail the Krelvaxian flagship. Ambassador. Ulthax's face appeared, shock evident in his compound eyes. How did your weapons penetrate their phase shields? No time to explain. We need covering fire while we remodulate our systems. Your primitive vessel somehow damaged them, Ulthax admitted grudgingly. What would you have us do? Transmitting tactical data now, Ilara said, nodding to Mira. Modify your weapons to these specifications. It won't be as effective as ours, but it might disrupt their shields enough to matter. As the data transferred, the Tenacity shuddered. Under another barrage. Shields at 63%, Riven called out. The nanites are keeping up with repairs, but barely. Through the viewport, Ilara watched as the Krelvaxian vessels cautiously maneuvered to support them, their weapons reconfigured to the simplified specifications she had provided. "It's working!" Mira exclaimed as the combined fire began to affect the Void Collective ships. But victory was short-lived. From the darkness beyond the battlefield, a massive vessel emerged, the Collective's command ship, dwarfing even the largest. "Confederation cruiser. All vessels, break engagement and retreat," came Admiral Zixmore's panicked order. Ilara stared at the approaching behemoth, its weapon systems powering up with ominous energy signatures. "No," she said quietly. "Aria, plot a direct course for the command ship. Riven, I need everything you've got for what comes next." The Tenacity's engines flared blue-white as it accelerated toward the Void Collective command ship, a midnight black Leviathan bristling with weapons. Behind them, the Confederation fleet hesitated, caught between retreat and the unexpected valor of the human vessel they had mocked hours earlier. "They're powering up their main cannon," Mira reported, her voice steady despite the sweat beading on her forehead. "Energy readings off the charts." "Riven, status on the quantum inverter?" Ilara demanded. "Online but untested," the engineer replied, fingers flying across his console. "If the calculations are correct, it should work. If not—" He left the Poriso, sentence unfinished. "Incoming transmission from the Krelvaxian flagship," Aria announced. Ilara nodded. On screen, Ambassador Ulthax appeared, mandibles twitching nervously. "Commander Vosk, what are you doing? That's a Void dreadnought. No single ship can engage it directly." "Watch us," Ilara replied, "and be ready to exploit the opening we create." She cut the transmission before the ambassador could protest further. "Time to contact?" 30 seconds, Navigator Tavor confirmed. "They're targeting us specifically now." "They recognize the threat," Ilara said grimly. "Mira, arm the quantum torpedoes. Full spread on my mark." The tactical officer's eyes widened. "All of them? That's our entire complement." "That's the plan." Ilara stood, moving to stand directly behind Tavor's station, eyes fixed on the approaching behemoth. "Riven, initiate quantum inverter sequence." Inverter powering up. 10 seconds to full capacity. The dreadnought's massive cannon began to glow, with unholy light, gathering energy for a blast that could vaporize a small moon. 5 seconds to firing range, Tavor counted down. 4, 3. "Inverter at full power," Riven shouted. 2, 1, now, Ilara commanded. Multiple systems activated simultaneously. The quantum torpedoes launched, streaking toward the dreadnought as its primary weapon discharged, a lance of pure destructive energy aimed directly at the Tenacity. Instead of attempting to evade, the human vessel surged forward, directly into the beam's path. The quantum inverter engaged, creating a localized field that bent space-time around the ship. For a heartbeat, it seemed as if the Tenacity had been atomized by the blast. But then the impossible happened. The dreadnought's energy beam twisted, coiling like a living thing as the quantum field redirected it back toward its source. The Void vessel's own weapon energy slammed into its hull, amplified by the quantum. Torpedoes detonating in precise sequence along its superstructure. Cascading explosions rippled across its surface. "Direct hit!" Mira exclaimed. "Their main power core is destabilizing." But the victory came at a cost. The Tenacity shuddered violently, emergency lights flashing across every console. "Quantum inverter. Burned out," Riven reported. "Hull integrity at 47%. Nanite repair systems overwhelmed." "Weapons?" "Conventional systems only. The F-50 advanced arrays need time to recharge." Ilara nodded grimly. "Get us clear of the blast radius. The dreadnought's going critical." As Tavor maneuvered the damaged vessel away, the communications system crackled to life, Admiral Zixmore's voice filling the bridge. "All Confederation vessels, the enemy flagship is vulnerable. Concentrate fire on the exposed reactor housing." Through the viewport, Ilara watched as the previously retreating Confederation ships surged forward, emboldened by the Tenacity's success. The Krelvaxian and Pelleran vessels targeted the wound their human allies had torn in the dreadnought's side, pouring conventional fire into the breach. "They're actually working together," Mira observed with wonder. The dreadnought's secondary weapons blazed defiantly, destroying two smaller Confederation ships, but the momentum had shifted. More explosions blossomed across its hull until, with catastrophic finality, its reactor went critical. The massive vessel seemed to implode before erupting in a sphere of brilliant energy that temporarily outshone the system's star. In the silence that followed, Ilara surveyed her bridge. Smoke hung in the air, panels sparked with damaged circuits, but her crew stood tall, bloodied but unbeaten. "The remaining Void Collective vessels are breaking formation," Mira reported. "They're retreating." "Let them go," Ilara said softly. "We've made our point." As the adrenaline of battle faded, the full extent of what they had accomplished began to sink in. A ship dismissed as obsolete had turned the tide against an enemy that had sent the Confederation's finest into panicked retreat. "Commander," Area interrupted. "Multiple requests for communication from Confederation vessels. Admiral Zixmore's flagship is approaching our position." Ilara straightened her uniform, wincing at the pain from a gash on her shoulder she hadn't noticed during the fight. "Put him through," she said. "And Riven, you might want to prepare those upgrade specifications. I think they're about to become very popular." 3 days after the battle, the USS Tenacity floated in a repair cradle aboard the Confederation Central Station. What had once been mockery had transformed into an almost religious reverence as alien engineers and scientists swarmed around. The human vessel, studying its systems with poorly concealed envy. Ilara stood in the station's grand conference chamber, facing the assembled leadership of the Confederation. Admiral Zixmore had shed his earlier disdain, though pride still stiffened his posture as he addressed her. "The Confederation Council has reviewed the battle footage and technical data," he announced. "Your ship's performance was unexpected." "What the Admiral means," interrupted Counselor Pax Lyra of the Meridian Cluster, "is that humanity has clearly mastered technological principles our combined civilizations have only theorized about. The Council formally requests complete access to your F-50 systems." Ilara exchanged glances with Riven, who stood at her side, clutching a data tablet containing the precious technical specifications. "I'm afraid that won't be possible," Ilara replied carefully. The chamber erupted in protests. "After we welcomed you into the Confederation, this is a violation of the Technology Sharing Accord. Humanity would not survive without our protection." Ilara raised her hand, waiting for silence. "I said complete access won't be possible, but we are prepared to offer consultation services." Admiral Zixmore's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "The F-50 systems weren't developed overnight. They represent generations of human innovation under pressure. Innovation born from necessity when we were fighting alone against threats you ignored until they reached your borders." She gestured to Riven, who stepped forward. "We will help upgrade your fleet," the engineer said. "But we won't simply hand over the technology. Each ship will require human technicians working alongside your engineers. A partnership, not a transfer." "Unacceptable," sputtered Ambassador Ulthax. "Your species joined the Confederation as a junior member. You don't dictate terms to us." "The Void Collective will return," Ilara said quietly. "Their dreadnought was only one of many. Next time they'll be prepared for the Tenacity. Will your superior vessels fare any better than they did before?" Uncomfortable silence fell across the chamber as the truth of her words sank in. "What exactly are you proposing, Commander?" Counselor Pax Lyra asked eventually. "A joint defense initiative. Human engineers will oversee upgrades to key vessels in each Confederation fleet, beginning with your flagships. In exchange, humanity receives full member status and proportional representation on the Council." Admiral Zixmore's face darkened. "You're using this crisis to extort political concessions." I'm ensuring my species' survival, Ilara corrected. You've seen what one outdated human vessel could do with the F-50 systems. Imagine an entire human fleet similarly equipped. The unspoken threat hung in the air. If denied equal standing, humanity might choose to stand alone, or worse, find other allies. After hours of heated debate, a compromise was reached. Humanity would be granted provisional full membership, with permanent status contingent on the successful integration of F-50 technology across the Confederation's primary defense fleet. Back aboard the Tenacity, Riven reviewed the initial list of vessels scheduled for upgrades. They've prioritized the Krelvaxian and Pelleran flagships, he noted. No surprise there, but the technical teams they're assigning? He frowned at his tablet. These aren't their best people, Ilara. They're mid-level engineers at best. They're still hoping to reverse engineer our systems without full collaboration, Ilara concluded. Keep all critical components under direct human supervision, and select our team carefully. We need teachers as much as engineers. Teachers? Riven raised an eyebrow. The Confederation races have grown complacent. Their technology has stagnated. Because they haven't faced true existential threats in generations, they've forgotten how to innovate. Ilara moved to the viewport, watching alien technicians swarming over the hull of the Tenacity, studying its battle scars with fascinated intensity. We're not just upgrading their ships, she said softly. We're upgrading their thinking. And that might be the more valuable service in the long run. As the repair work continued, communications arrived from Earth, the first since the battle. The Planetary Defense Council had reviewed Ilara's report and approved her initiative with one significant addition. Along with the engineering teams, Earth would be sending diplomatic representatives to formalize humanity's new standing in the US Confederation. Looks like we're going to be playing politics as well as mechanics, Riven grumbled. Would you rather they kept treating us like salvage dealers? Ilara asked with a hint of amusement. Before he could answer, Arya interrupted. Commander, the Pelleran General Draz requests permission to come aboard. He says it's a matter of professional curiosity. Ilara straightened her uniform. Permission granted. Have him meet us in engineering. It's time to begin our first lesson. 2 months into the upgrade program, progress had been frustratingly slow. In the vast engineering bay of the Krelvaxian flagship Eternal Dominion, Riven battled not just technical challenges, but institutional resistance. A team of 30 human engineers worked alongside nearly 100 Krelvaxian technicians, the atmosphere tense with unspoken resentment. You've applied the quantum coupling backward, Riven said for the third time, addressing senior engineer Vex Tull. The energy flow needs to reverse through the containment field before reaching the accelerator. Matrix. The Krelvaxian's eye stalks twitched with irritation. Our systems have used standard flow acceleration for 9 generations. Reversing the flow violates basic energy principles. Basic by your understanding, Riven countered, fatigue evident in his voice. The F-50 protocols work precisely because they challenge those assumptions. Nearby, other human engineers were facing similar resistance. The Confederation races had agreed to the upgrades, but their engineers treated each deviation from their established methods as a personal affront. On the station's diplomatic level, Ilara faced challenges of her own. The Provisional Council, seat granted to humanity, had come with limitations that became more apparent with each session. When she entered the council chamber for the scheduled defense briefing, the other representatives barely acknowledged her presence. We will now review progress on the Fleet Upgrade Initiative, Admiral Zixmore announced. Initial reports indicate significant delays in implementation. The delays aren't technical, Ilara stated firmly. They're cultural. Your engineering teams are resisting fundamental changes necessary for the systems to function. Ambassador, we. Ulthax made a dismissive gesture. Perhaps the issue lies with your explanations. Our engineers are the finest minds in the Confederation. Fine minds that have become inflexible, Ilara countered. The F-50 systems require a complete paradigm shift in approach. Your teams are trying to integrate quantum technology into conventional frameworks. It won't work. Yet you expect us to radically alter our vessels based on unproven theories, General Draz interjected. Theories that contradict millennia of established science. Unproven? Ilara's patience thinned. The tenacity destroyed a void dreadnought, while your proven technology failed completely. Before the argument could escalate further, an aide rushed into the chamber, interrupting protocol. Urgent news from the Cygnus perimeter. A Void Collective scout squadron has been detected. They're scanning our outer defenses. The council erupted into anxious discussion. The timeline they had assumed, months before the collective regrouped, had been dangerously optimistic. How many vessels? Admiral Zixmore demanded. 3 stealth frigates, sir. Our sensors barely detected them. They're using improved cloaking technology. Ilara saw opportunity in crisis. The Tenacity's sensors can track them. We've calibrated our systems to detect their phase shift signatures. Then your ship will join the Perimeter Defense Squadron, the Admiral declared. With respect, Admiral, the Tenacity is still undergoing repairs from the last engagement. But I have another suggestion. The Krelvaxian vessel Indomitable has received the sensor upgrades. This is an opportunity to test their effectiveness in the field. After brief deliberation, the Council agreed. The Indomitable, one of the few ships where upgrades had progressed beyond the initial stages, would be deployed alongside conventional vessels to track the Void Scouts. Hours later, in the Tenacity's secure communications room, Ilara received the mission update from the Indomitable's commander, Captain Thex. The human sensor modifications performed adequately, he admitted reluctantly. We tracked the scout vessels until they jumped to FTL. Were you able to determine their course? Ilara asked. Thex hesitated. Yes. They appeared to be taking comprehensive scans of our defense grid configuration. They're planning their next attack, Ilara concluded. How long before the rest of the fleet can be upgraded with at least the defensive F-50 systems? At the current rate of implementation, 6 months minimum. We don't have 6 months, Ilara said grimly. We need to accelerate the program. Back in her quarters, Ilara called an emergency meeting with the human engineering team leaders. Riven's holographic projection looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes. We need a new approach, she told them. Instead of trying to upgrade everything at once, identify the critical systems that would provide the biggest tactical advantage against the Void Collective. The shield harmonics and phase detection sensors would be the priorities, Riven suggested. Without those, nothing else matters. They can't fight what they can't hit. Focus all resources there, Ilara ordered. And starting tomorrow, we're reorganizing the teams. I'm tired of the resistance. Any Confederation engineer unwilling to follow our protocols will be reassigned. That won't be popular, Riven warned. They already think we're being high-handed. Popularity isn't our objective. Survival is. The next council session proved Riven right. When Ilara announced the reorganization, the chamber nearly descended into chaos. This is unprecedented, Ambassador Ulthax protested. You cannot dictate. Who works on our vessels? I'm not dictating, Ilara responded, keeping her voice level. I'm establishing necessary conditions for the upgrades to succeed. Engineers who refuse to adapt are actively hindering our progress that directly impacts our collective survival. The human has a point, came an unexpected voice. Counselor Paxilira, who had remained mostly neutral in previous debates, stood. My analysts have reviewed the Void Collective encounter data. They're adapting their technology based on our previous engagement. When they return in force, they will have countermeasures for the tactics we employed. A grim silence fell over. The Council. How can we be sure the human upgrades will be sufficient? General Draz finally asked, his earlier hostility tempered by pragmatism. You can't, Ilara admitted. But you've seen what our Scrapheap ship accomplished. Imagine your vessels with fully integrated F-50 systems, operated by crews who actually understand the principles behind them. Slowly, reluctantly, consensus formed. The upgrade program would proceed under human direction, with Confederation engineers selected based on adaptability rather than seniority. As Alara left the chamber, Admiral Zixmore fell into step beside her. "I didn't support your admission to the Confederation," he said quietly. "I believed humans were too aggressive, too unpredictable to join our peaceful coalition." "And now?" Ilara asked. "Now I realize we had grown too peaceful, too comfortable. The void would have overwhelmed us if not for your unpredictability." He paused. "But know this, Commander, once this crisis has passed, there will be a reckoning. Power balances this dramatically shifted do not stabilize easily." Before Alara could respond, her communication device chimed urgently. "Commander?" Aria's voice came through. "Long-range sensors have detected a massive energy surge at the edge of the system. Signature matches Void Collective jump patterns." Ilara met the Admiral's gaze. "It seems the future of the Confederation will be decided sooner than we thought." The Void Collective arrived with overwhelming force. 15 dreadnoughts, each larger than the one Tenacity had helped destroy, accompanied by dozens of support vessels. They emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their midnight hulls, absorbing starlight like cosmic predators. "They've been planning this for longer than we realized," Alara observed from the Tenacity's bridge, now serving as the coordination center for the Confederation Defense Fleet. Admiral Zixmore's hologram nodded grimly. "Long-range sensors indicate they've modified their shields based on our previous encounter. The quantum disruption tactic won't work twice. They've adapted. So must we." Ilara turned to Riven. "Status of the upgraded vessels? 12 ships with full sensor and shield upgrades, 5 with partial weapons integration. The rest..." The engineer shook his head. "Not ready." In the month since their ultimatum, progress had accelerated dramatically. The most adaptable Confederation engineers had embraced the F-50 principles, working alongside their human counterparts with growing appreciation. But time had run out before the full fleet could be prepared. "Deploy according to Formation Delta," Ilara instructed. "Upgraded vessels as the vanguard, conventional ships providing ranged support." As orders transmitted across the fleet, Aria announced, "Incoming transmission from the Void Collective flagship." A figure appeared on screen, humanoid but with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that glowed with cold blue light. Grand Admiral Novus of the Void Collective surveyed the assembled defenders with calculated disdain. "Confederation vessels." His voice resonated with artificial harmonics. "Your resistance at our last encounter was unexpected. We offer terms. Surrender your systems now, and your species may serve as auxiliaries under Void governance." "And if we refuse?" Admiral Zixmore asked, though all knew the answer. "Then, we will take what we want from your ashes," Novus replied simply. "You have 10 minutes to lower your shields." As the transmission ended, Ilara faced the holographic representations of the fleet commanders. "They fear us now," she said. "Our success against their dreadnought proved they aren't invincible. That's why they're here in such force. They're overcompensating." "Or they're ensuring victory," General Draz countered darkly. "They expect us to fight conventionally, to meet strength with strength." Ilara activated the tactical display. "We won't give them what they expect. Captain Thex, deploy your stealth scouts as discussed. General Draz, your cruisers should prepare the graviton pulse at these coordinates." As the commanders acknowledged their orders, uncertainty lingered on several faces. "This strategy divides our forces," Admiral Zixmore observed. "If they break through at any point, they won't," Ilara said with quiet confidence. "The F-50 systems aren't just about technology, they're about thinking differently. The Void Collective expects us to defend. Instead, will attack in ways they cannot anticipate. As the 10-minute deadline expired, the Void Fleet began their advance. Their formation was perfect, mathematically optimized for maximum firepower. Coverage. All vessels execute Phase 1, Ilara commanded. The upgraded Confederation ships suddenly accelerated to speeds the Void tacticians had calculated impossible, their enhanced engines leaving reality-bending distortions in their wake. They didn't engage directly, but executed a complex weaving pattern that scattered the Void's carefully arranged formation. Their targeting systems are struggling to compensate, Mira reported from Tactical. The phase variance emissions are working. One of the human innovations had been relatively simple. Random fluctuations in energy signatures that confused the Void's predictive targeting algorithms. Phase 2, Ilara ordered. Hidden among the debris of a shattered moon, Captain Thex's stealth vessels emerged, launching specially modified torpedoes, not at the Void ships themselves, but at precise points in space around them. The detonations created localized gravity distortions, further disrupting the enemy's formation. On the Tenacity's bridge, Riven monitored the energy readings with growing excitement. They're clustering into the vector we predicted. General Draz, your window is opening. The Pelleran cruisers, positioned at the edge of the battlefield, activated their graviton pulse generators, conventional weapons that the human engineers had reconfigured for an unconventional purpose. The massive gravity wave didn't target the Void ships directly, but instead compressed the space between them, forcing the dreadnoughts dangerously close together. They're colliding, Admiral Zixmore observed with astonishment. Phase 3, Ilara commanded. All vessels with quantum weapons target the designated fault lines. The upgraded Confederation ships converged, their weapons synchronized to exploit the structural stress points created by the forced proximity of the Void dreadnoughts. It wasn't brute force, but precise application of energy where it would cascade most effectively. 3 dreadnoughts fell in rapid succession, their destruction creating a chain reaction among the tightly packed Void fleet. Panic spread through their command structure as carefully planned tactics collapsed in the face of strategies they had never encountered. They're attempting to regroup, Mira reported. Remaining dreadnoughts are charging their primary weapons. All ships, execute scatter protocol, Ilara ordered calmly. The Confederation fleet dispersed in a pre-planned pattern just as massive energy beams lanced through the space they had occupied moments before. The missed shots struck other Void vessels, adding to the chaos. From his flagship, Grand Admiral Novus broadcast again, his earlier composure shattered by fury. "What is this? What have you done to your ships?" "We upgraded them to F-50 standards," Ilara replied simply. "Perhaps you'd like a demonstration of the full capabilities?" Before Novus could respond, the Tenacity and 5 other fully upgraded vessels executed a synchronized quantum jump, not retreating, but repositioning instantly to the Void flagship's unprotected flank. Their combined weapons fire tore through its shields as if they didn't exist. "How?" Novus demanded as his ship began to break apart around him. "Our intelligence indicated your technology was primitive, your species divided and weak." "You judged by appearances," Ilara answered. "A common mistake when encountering humanity." The remaining Void vessels attempted to retreat, but found their hyperspace capabilities mysteriously disabled. Another gift from the F-50 system's quantum interference field. "All Confederation vessels," Ilara broadcast, "execute final containment. Maneuver." The upgraded ships moved with perfect coordination, herding the remaining Void collective vessels into a tightening noose. One by one, the enemy ships were disabled, their once fearsome weapons silenced by precisely targeted strikes from vessels they had dismissed as inferior. In the aftermath, as the Confederation fleet regrouped amid the floating debris of what had been the most powerful invasion force the galaxy had seen in millennia, a profound silence fell across all communication channels. Admiral Zixmore was the first to break it. "Commander Vosk," he said, his voice carrying a respect that would have been unimaginable months earlier. The Confederation owes you a debt that cannot be repaid. Not me, Ilara corrected. Humanity. We've spent our history fighting, surviving, adapting. What you saw as a weakness, our scrap heap approach to technology, was actually our greatest strength. We don't build for perfection, we build for resilience. As the fleet returned to the Confederation hub world, an unprecedented welcome awaited them. Representatives from every member species gathered to witness the formal ceremony where humanity's provisional status was unanimously upgraded to full membership, with additional recognition as the Confederation's primary defense consultants. In Chiu, the Grand Council chamber, now decorated with the battle flags of all participating vessels, Riven stood beside Ilara as they accepted the highest honor the Confederation could bestow. The path forward won't be easy, Counselor Paxilira warned them privately after the ceremony. Some still resent the shift in power. Others fear what humanity might become with access to the combined knowledge of all Confederation species. They should be more concerned with what we can accomplish together, Ilara replied. The Void Collective won't be the last threat we face. 1 year later, the transformation was complete. The Confederation fleet had been fully upgraded to F-50 standards and beyond. The collaboration between human and alien engineers had produced innovations that neither could have achieved alone. The USS Tenacity, now officially designated as the flagship of the combined fleet, still bore its battle scars proudly. Ilara had refused offers to replace its mismatched hull panels with something more befitting its status. The scars remind us where we came from, she explained to the new cadets, both human and alien, who now trained aboard the legendary vessel. Never judge by appearances. That was the Void Collective's mistake. In the ship's newly expanded engineering section, Riven supervised a mixed team of enthusiastic young engineers from 6 different species. The quantum harmonic needs precision. Adjustments, he instructed a promising Krelvaxian apprentice who would have scoffed at human teaching months earlier. Feel the resonance. Don't just follow the numbers. On the bridge, Ilara stood at the viewport, watching as the next generation of Confederation vessels conducted maneuvers, sleek, powerful ships that combined the best aspects of all member species technologies. Admiral, Arya announced, the exploration fleet is ready for your inspection. Ilara smiled at her new rank. The promotion had come with the responsibility of leading not just defense forces, but the Confederation's renewed commitment to exploration, pushing beyond known space with confidence born from strength. Signal the fleet, she ordered. It's time to show the galaxy what we can accomplish when we work together. As the Tenacity led the armada into the unknown, the vessel once mocked as a scrap heap had become the symbol of a new era, one where humanity's greatest gift to the stars wasn't just advanced technology, but the revolutionary idea that true strength comes not from perfection, but from embracing the lessons learned through adversity. And somewhere in the vast darkness between galaxies, word was spreading about the once insignificant Confederation that had transformed overnight into a force that even the mighty Void Collective could not defeat, all because they had underestimated a single primitive ship and the indomitable spirit of the species that had built it.